Now, speaking of weird, strange stuff, Vince Russo in WCW. Now, we've been very nice, Vince, because WWF, you were doing quite well. You dominated, I think, and I would give you an A rating. If you're going to give it a grade to your writing in the WWF, WCW, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get that quite a good of a grade, but we'll find out as we go through the show. Today, we're going to cover your first pay-per-view. WCW Halloween Havoc 1999. We've talked about how you left and how you got to WCW. We've talked about all that before, so we're going to hop right into WCW. October 24th, 1999, Las Vegas, Nevada, MGM Grand Arena, 8,464 in attendance, so good attendance. The tagline, the stuff nightmares are made of. When our inner animals come out to play, the pay-per-view buy rate, 230K. So pretty good start as far as you and WCW. Anything alarming you when you first get there, or is everything peachy keen? Is everything
Yeah,
good?
no, bro, from what I remember, Halloween Havoc was already booked. I may have, made a couple of tweaks here and there, but from what I can remember, it was already booked, and I kind of just, rolled along with the original plan. Might have been some changes, but I think it was already booked.
So how did Kevin Nash feel about you being the booker? I know you're technically not replacing him, but he was the head booker kind of before you came in. In between, there's Bob Mould and there's like a Terry Taylor, and then there's something going on between. But what did you think of Nash, or what did Nash think of you coming in and replacing him?
I don't think Kevin had a problem, bro, because first of all, like Kevin and I were always friends. Always, man. From day, bro, go back to 1991 when I did Vicious Vincent's World of Wrestling. Bro, what was his character? Not Oz. What was his character? Vinny Vegas. Vinny Vegas was actually a guest on my show in 1991. Then, of course, I worked with him for a long time at the WWE. By the time I got to WCW, Kevin and I were always friends, man. So that was never an issue.
Got to ask this right off the top because I love this gimmick just as far as it was like mysterious. You don't know kind of who it is or what they were doing, but the powers that be, what is the thought behind the powers that be? You're behind the camera, so you can't see you. You can hear you, but you're focusing on whoever is in the screen with you, whether it be Pat, Gerald, or whoever.
That was Kevin Sullivan's idea. Kevin Sullivan came up with that idea, and where he got it from was Seinfeld, when Larry David would do a Steinbrenner. I mean, that's exactly where Kevin Sullivan got the idea from. So it was kind of his idea. The idea was to never be on camera. And I thought it was different. I thought it was interesting.
It's funny, Larry David redid Steinbrenner for a Topps baseball card commercial.
Oh,
recently.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I got to watch. Is that out yet?
Yeah. It's on like Instagram and Twitter and stuff.
I gotta Google that. I gotta watch that. Okay.
Funny stuff. So powers that be is interesting because obviously it's you. Are you supposed to be like Vince McMahon? Are you supposed to be like anybody else, or you're just the powers that be?
Just the powers that be. Just the person. I don't know if you ever heard Ed or not. I don't think you did. Just the person making the decisions. That's it. Just the powers that be. The person making the decisions.
So who is making Pat and Gerald, the creative control, which was their name, the Harris twins? Whose idea is that? That's your idea, giving them that gimmick?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Do you like taking shots at WWE with the names? Pat,
oh yeah, bro. People forget, man. Like it was a war, man. There was an absolute war going on back then. The gloves were off, and John, I am a firm believer in if you are number one, you never mention the competition. If you're number two, throw the kitchen sink at them. I mean, that's my mindset. That's always been my mindset. That was our mindset at the WWE. So, yeah, man, we are clearly number two, gloves off, throw the kitchen sink.
Eventually, Shane, which would be Virgil, Vincent, he'd be Shane at one point, make fun of Shane McMahon. And then, of course, which is controversial, and I know we've talked about this a few times before, Ed Ferrara plays Jim Ross, a.k.a. Oklahoma. And I know I might get some heat for this, but It was hilarious. I know he's making fun of him and also, but his actual verbiage and stuff, like, come on, he talking about Dr. Death and, the Oklahoma Stampede and how he went to
Vampiro,
Boomer
Vampiro,
Sooner.
Vampiro, Vampiro,
Yeah.
Vampiro.
Yeah.
Listen, it was, bro. Here's what you got to understand. Like, bro, first of all, John, we are in a business where, like, especially the dirt sheet writers, bro, these people have no sense of humor. Like, zero. Dave Meltzer has no sense of humor. Sean Sapp has, these people have no sense of humor. Bro, we can talk about the powers that be. We can talk about Shane. We can talk about creative control. We could talk about, Oklahoma. Bro, all that was done as comedy. Like, none of that was done in a hateful manner. None of it, bro. All of that was done in an entertaining manner. The problem is, you got people that take professional wrestling so seriously that they don't know when to laugh. They literally don't know when to laugh. So even with Oklahoma, none of that was done in a hateful way. All of it was done in a comedic and an entertaining way. I still do things to this day, like, like a Sean Sapp. What do you think? I'm gonna attack him, viciously? No, bro. I'm just gonna make you look stupid. I'm gonna make you look stupid through comedy. That's what I do. So, like, all of that stuff, man, none of it was done in a mean-spirited nature.
I just think it's hilarious. Tony Schiavone keeps calling him Tony Schiavone. You're a B teamer, which is apparently something that Jim Ross had said to him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, like, that stuff like that, so funny. Like, you're a B teamer. He goes, Tony, speak in sound bites. Tony. He goes, know your place, Tony. Like, he would just nail him with awesome lines. It was just
So funny.
Ed was hilarious with that.
Ed was so freaking talented, man, in so many aspects of entertainment, man. So freaking talented.
Juventud went to Tijuana State. Remember, he
Yeah,
played
yeah,
guard. And then
yeah,
talking about, he goes, the wall from Frankfurt in Germany, University of Germany out of Frankfurt. He goes, he
yeah,
played offensive guard. He weighed 300 pounds. Like, so funny.
That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
bro. That was not done in a mean-spirited way at all.
That's why I don't know. I don't look back. I know you kind of regret the Oklahoma stuff, but I thought it was hilarious. I liked the Oklahoma stuff. I thought the gimmick was great.
Well, I regret it because of the Bell's palsy thing. I never
Right.
once said it wasn't funny. Like, yes,
Right.
I still think it was very, very, very funny. But bro, if let me put it to you this way. If JR hadn't suffered from Bell's palsy and Ed wasn't selling it that way and it was just normal JR, that would have been freaking hysterical.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's just then pinata. You got to repeat yourself. You got to speak in sound bites. You got to repeat yourself.
You got to say everything 3 times. You got to say
Yeah.
everything 3
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
And then he would always go, oh,
Yeah.
like overdo it
Yeah.
for like little moves. Oh, great stuff. We'll get into Oklahoma in a little bit as the pay-per-view starts. It starts off with a WCW intro and a little intro video. A lot of this video package for Havoc 99 is focused on Hogan and Sting and Goldberg and Sid. So those are the two big advertised matches. We'll get into Hogan and Sting because it's kind of controversial here. As a little bit of a bait and switch with Hogan and Sting, but Goldberg and Sid also is being heavily promoted. The announcers, Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan, explain that Ray is hurt and he's stripped of the tag team titles with Conan. So that's just to start the show. Legit injury, right? Ray was legitimately hurt.
Yeah.
So the first match up, Disco Inferno defending his WCW Cruiserweight Championship, and he's going to defend it against Lash LaRue. He beats Lash, and then Lash beats up Disco after the match. So first, we'll just start off with Disco as Cruiserweight Champion. What do you think about this? He's not necessarily Cruiserweight, a little bit bigger than a Cruiserweight. Do you like him in this role as Cruiserweight Champion?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just like Disco because he's entertaining, man. He's, bro, I'm entertained by characters. Disco had his character down to a T. Disco was a good worker. Disco rarely got injured. So, yeah, I mean, I was definitely in the Disco Inferno camp.
The funny thing with Disco is, and the cruiserweight title is, that he did do a bit of a gimmick where he was obviously over the limit, so he's got to work out, and you know he's like
Right.
basically doing comedy sketches like to try to lose weight to get under the cruiserweight limit. I found that very entertaining, and you know obviously hit that out of the park. I thought that was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, that's Disco, man. Disco can pull anything like that off.
Do you like him as cruiserweight champion though? Don't you think he's like maybe too big for that role, or do you think that that's good to have kind of like the cruiserweight bully kind of character?
I think it's good, and I also think it's good for the cruiserweights to have some kind of a character. And that's what Disco was. Disco was a character. No secret. I was a character. I was a character writer. I mean, that's what I did.
Funny, WWF, and people probably don't even remember this, or WWE, they kind of stole that from Disco, how he was working out, trying to lose weight, doing the comedy stuff, being the cruiserweight champion. Matt Hardy did it years later, and they were trying to, like, he's getting in shape, and he's doing a lot of the comedy stuff Disco's doing. And then even slightly like that for 205 Live, Enzo Amore, who's not necessarily a smaller guy, but not necessarily like a cruiserweight type guy, he was bringing some personality and some comedy to the guys that maybe are just work rate guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I thought it worked, man. I'm trying to give everybody a character. John, I still do that to this day. Everybody needs a character. You can't just go out there and be a wrestler. Everybody needs a character. We see what's going on with AEW and everybody just being a wrestler. I mean that the proof is in the pudding. It is out there. You see what's happening with that company. It is vital that everybody has somewhat some semblance of a character.
So Disco wins in 7 minutes, 35 seconds to retain the cruiserweight title. Lash beats him up after the match. What's going on here? Is that
Oh,
just to save him a little bit?
yeah, just to protect Lash a little bit. Lash is the baby face here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I really like Lash, bro. Lash had a great personality. He was a great dude. I really liked him. So yeah, just to protect the baby face a little bit.
Maybe teasing that he's going to have a little bit of changing character. You know, the corporal,
Possibly. Yeah.
eventually Corporal Cajun, but teasing that he's got a little bit of edge to
Yeah.
him.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Lash is great. Great guy. Still, I
Yeah,
talk to
great
Lash
guy.
all the time. He's awesome.
Yeah.
What a nice guy.
Tell him I said hi, man. Great dude. Great dude.
Uh, Maybe I'll mention this to you later off air, but Violent J from the ICP wants to talk to you.
Yeah, baby. Bring me in. Is he going to put the gigolo belt on me?
I don't know. I don't know.
He should, man. He should, bro.
Yeah, he's got a lot to talk to you about. It's very interesting. I just
Yeah.
interviewed him, and he's like, "Oh, I got to ask Russo about this. Got to like." So he's wanting to talk to you for sure.
Yeah,
So,
I loved violence. I
he's the
love
man.
gimmicks. I love gimmicks. Big secret. Vince Russo loves gimmicks. Big secret, bro.
Yes, he's the man.
Yeah.
So as far as what's going on backstage, you have Benoit and Malenko backstage. Perry Saturn interrupts, and then Benoit and Malenko say that they're quitting the Revolution. So a little bit of a tease there. They're not happy with the Revolution. The Revolution, of course, was Shane Douglas, Perry Saturn, Malenko, Benoit, and Asia. So just a little bit of tease for later on. They are quitting the Revolution. Saturn's not happy. Then we have Mike Tenay backstage with Harlem Heat, and they're talking about the tag title match that they're going to be having against the Filthy Animal and the First Family, which is going to be for the vacant WCW Tag Team Championships now that Conan and Ray are stripped. Do you like having other stuff going on during pay-per-views? You know what I mean? Like you're almost treating it like you're almost treating it like another TV show.
Absolutely. Yeah. That changed when I started writing and me and Ed started writing at the WWE. The pay-per-view became part of the story. Absolutely. I prefer it that way because now you're putting more pressure on the consumer to buy the pay-per-view because they're not just buying matches now. They may miss a very, very important beat in the story. So yes, man, I love doing it that way. Yes.
So you don't think you need to make it different and just do matches for pay-per-view, and that's for the hardcore fans?
Yeah,
Not
no,
that's
I
not
mean,
your philosophy?
as long as the matches are longer. I mean, as long as I mean, we didn't do nearly as much backstage stuff on a pay-per-view as we did regular television. We continued stories, but no, man, as long as the matches are longer, you're okay, I think.
When you're looking at this, obviously Ray is no longer the tag champ. How come you vacate the titles and not just give Kidman the title with Conan? Do you remember any thought put into that?
Oh God, bro, I can't remember specifically, but yeah, man, I don't think we would just hand the belt over to another member of the Filthy Animals. I think, I mean, again, whatever the wrestling rule book is, I think if one half of the tag team champions couldn't perform, they would be stripped of the titles.
Do you like that you're also breaking the mold of the traditional pay-per-view by having so much backstage stuff going on? Do you like that aspect?
I'm not even thinking about that, John. I'm really not. I am an entertainment driven guy. Again, I know pay-per-views are basically built to pay off feuds, so we do want the matches to be a little longer, and we do want to pay off feuds.
So next up, we have Harlem Heat, Booker T, and Stevie Ray defeating the Filthy Animals, Billy Kidman subbing for Ray, and Conan, and the First Family, which was Brian Knobbs and Hugh Morris with Jimmy Hart. And this was a street fight for the vacant WCW Tag Team Championship. The Harlem Heat win in about 5 minutes here. Really, nothing. It wasn't that great. It was just kind of almost more of a cluster. Does that kind of ring any bells for you? Just was kind of a cluster. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything great either.
Yeah, it also sounds like it may have went short. So
Only
I
five
don't.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, that is short, bro. So I don't know. I don't know if they went home early. I don't know if they forgot something. I honestly, John, don't remember that match at all to really be able to tell you the specifics of it. But it does seem like that's a short amount of time where maybe they would have went home early for some reason.
So then we have Ric Flair and David Flair arriving together backstage. Then we show Kimberly and DDP as they come out for an in-ring promo talking about the strap match later on in the evening, which is going to be between Ric Flair and DDP Diamond Dallas Page. Kimberly looking great, of course, and then we go backstage. And
God, I
Mike,
just saw like a recent interview of her not too long ago. She still looks
I
great.
know, right? Oh my God, I was like, man, this girl or this woman, she doesn't age.
Nah, she looks great. Yeah.
She's got like a Trish Stratus thing going on where they age backwards almost. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
Actually, and I saw her. I don't know if it was a couple years ago or not, but she looked even better. I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah, she got a Vince Russo thing going on.
yeah, you're aging gracefully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
nice. Yes,
Mi-
yes.
minus the gray hair and the gray
Yeah,
beard, but yeah,
that's true. That's
yeah.
true. Yes, yes.
Mike Tenay is backstage with Eddie Guerrero, Billy Kidman, and Tori of the Filthy Animals. Then he's talking about Saturn. He's talking about Conan possibly being injured and
Ah,
possibly
I'm wondering. So Conan was in that match. Did he get injured in that match?
it looked like it did definitely
Well,
possibility. So
there
look
you
at your
go.
look at your recall. So that is possibly why it did go a little short. You
Yeah,
might be right
okay.
on that.
That might, and also why it might have been a little clunky. That might explain some things. Okay.
But we have to wait. Conan's injury could be
Oh, he
partially
could be
work,
aware.
but
Okay.
it seems legit. But it seems like you guys are going to work it into later on because when he comes out later, it just seems like he might be a little wonky. Like something
Yeah.
definitely happened. I think.
Okay.
Eddie also talks about stealing Ric Flair's Rolex, by the way,
I
which is a
remember
little
that.
little
I
little
remember that.
tease with Flair and the Filthy Animals.
Yeah, we did a lot with Flair's Rolex. I think I had one of Flair's Rolexes at one time.
Well, what's up with that? Just because they're so expensive, and
Yeah, 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 yeah,
are you guys playing off like this watch costs more than
yeah.
your house?
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah.
I love that. So next up, we have Eddie Guerrero defeating Perry Saturn in 11 minutes by disqualification. This is actually a good match. A little bit of a wonky finish here because Ric Flair ends up interfering, but good match while you have it. Do you like having a DQ finish on a pay-per-view or no? Or does that doesn't matter?
That's the whole thing, John. You got to understand, like, bro, I'm telling you, to this day, casual fans don't care about finishes, bro. They don't. I keep watching on russosbrand.com, John. Every 2 weeks, I review the Attitude Era. Bro, the people are going absolutely nuts and insane. There's no clean finishes, man. There's no clean
Right.
everything is to keep the story going. That's how everything is designed. And casual fans do not care about clean finishes. That is an internet thing. Casual fans know this is fake. These fights are not real. They're looking for the story. They're looking to see where this goes. What's the next chapter? Clean finishes are not important to casual fans, and clean finishes kill. Bro, come on. You're going to sit there and tell me they didn't kill Uncle Howdy on Monday? Are you? They're not necessary, bro. If you've got story and character, clean finishes are not necessary. And that's what happens with the WWE. And that's how it's become 50-50 booking, because they got a lack of characters and lack of storylines. So there's a great emphasis on matches, and somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And that's why you got 50-50 booking. And that's why you have so many people in the middle that can't get over.
So we have Eddie beating Saturn here by DQ because Ric Flair interferes. Kidman and Tori Wilson come out. And guess what? Tori Wilson gets a kiss from the Nature Boy. So obviously a lot of stuff. Flair's kind of all over this show if you look at it, because he's with David Flair. He's fighting.
It's interesting that you say that Flair's all over the show, because Flair will tell you that I was trying to write him off of the show. Meanwhile, he's all over the show. Thank you for that, John. Thank you.
Well, we'll get into that in a second with Flair. But he is all over the show, though. He is with Tori, gives her a kiss. He's beating up the Filthy Animals. He is feuding with DDP. They are having a strap match later. He is being shown with David in the back, and he does have an interesting thing going on with Kimberly, too. So you have a lot of stuff going on. Did you know the value of the Nature Boy? Because it's funny the way sometimes people say you didn't, but you had him like on 4 different storylines.
They're idiots. They're idiots, John. I knew first of all, bro, you got to understand, part of my salary depends on ratings and pay-per-view buys. Okay. So I knew the value of Hogan and Flair. If my pocketbook depends on how many people watch the show, Hogan and Flair are going to be part of the show. The only problem was when I got there, they were being so grossly misused. I had to kind of stop for a second, get them in the proper roles that they needed to be in order to go forward, where they would mean something again. There was never, ever, ever a plan or an intention to get rid of either one of those guys. That is absolutely bullshit.
Do you like using him for some comedy too? I mean, obviously he's got some real serious stuff going on, but do you like using him for comedy too? Because
absolutely,
him kissing Tori and kind of everyone, popping for it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So then we have Goldberg attacks Psycho Sid Vicious, attacks him in the back and bloodies him up. Sid gets up and he's bleeding. He says, "That's all you got." What's going on here? Because it almost seems like Goldberg is a heel and Sid is a babyface.
Yeah, I think what's going on here, bro, is I think Goldberg goes over in the match, and I'm really, really, really trying to protect Sid.
So are you thinking about turning Sid babyface? Because that's kind of what it seems like right here. Like he's going to be a babyface.
Yeah, that's not really the intention. The intention is to paint him as an absolute badass, where he went out there, he took Goldberg's best shot, because I'm really, really, really trying to book Sid, because I think we're putting Goldberg over in this match.
Yep.
Yeah.
Funny, he says, "Is that all you got?" He's bleeding. So it's like, wow, this is a tough guy. This guy's a badass. He didn't even care.
That's exactly what we're going for. Yes.
So Buff Bagwell is out. He calls out the quote unquote writers. So he's shooting on the powers that be here, right? And Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett comes out. Luger comes out, and he hits Buff with the guitar by accident. So Jarrett is kind of teasing a little bit of feud, because obviously when Jarrett re-debuted, he hit Buff and nailed him with the guitar. So Buff wants a little bit of revenge, but also takes some shots at the writers. Is that all scripted?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 1000%. Yeah, just a little peek behind the curtain. Yes.
teasing obviously tension between Luger and Buff here is the accident, and then obviously a little bit of a feud. What do you think about Buff? Like, what did you
Bro,
think?
I was a big fan of Buff. I said one time, and people still bring this up, and guess what, man? I still freaking mean it. Okay, I don't take it back, bro. Buff had just as much charisma as The Rock. Buff was loaded with charisma. Buff's problem was he had his demons, and everybody knows that. This was an extremely, extremely talented guy. Very, very talented guy. I wish I wish Buff would have been clean and sober. God knows what I would have been able to do with him. But unfortunately, he had his issues, man.
And it's interesting that you have Jarrett back in the fold. You know what I mean? He just left WWF. The whole controversy with getting 250K from Vince that it was quote unquote owed to him. Loses to China, gives over the Intercontinental title. It heads to WCW. Did you think that it was going to have like a big impact? If you literally just took a guy from the Attitude Era that was probably the second biggest heel or the second most hated guy. Did you think that was going to have a big impact for WCW, or did you at least love bringing over Jeff Jarrett,
I love
stealing Jeff
bringing over.
Jarrett?
Yeah, I wasn't looking at it like that. I mean, Jeff and I had such a close relationship. I'm sure Jeff knew that his trajectory, just like freaking Jericho and just like a lot of the mid card guys, they knew when Ed and I left that their trajectory was going to change. Jeff knew his creative was going to drastically change, and that's why he wanted to come back over and work with me.
Jeff Jarrett, he's the man. I loved having him back in WCW at this point too, because obviously added a little bit of a
Yeah,
juice, a little bit of a shot in the arm too. It's like, wow,
yeah,
wow, WCW just stole a guy from WWF after WWF took Jericho and Big
yep,
Show, so
yep,
a little bit of a back and forth.
yeah, yep.
Next up, Brad Armstrong. Oddly enough, here in '99, here Brad Armstrong defeats Berlin, aka Alex Wright, with an awesome German gimmick, with the wall in his corner in 4 minutes and 25 seconds. Nothing great, nothing to write home about here, but maybe just shocking the fact that Brad Armstrong defeats Berlin. What's going on here? Why is Brad getting a victory on pay per
Was
view in
Brad
'99?
doing his gimmick? What was he doing? A
No,
gimmick?
not yet.
So it's just straight up Brad Armstrong.
Yep.
Wasn't Berlin on his way out?
No, not yet.
How long was he there after that, though? Not too long, John, was he? I don't remember working with him that
Oh
long.
yeah. Oh yeah. He was there until the dying days of WCW. Yeah. He was there until the WCW died.
And he didn't leave any time prior and come back, or
Maybe a little bit
yeah.
in and out, but he was there until the end. Had a contract to the end.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I can't answer that question. I don't know. I had no problem with Berlin. I even liked the gimmick, but it's something. There was something going on, bro, contract wise or something. I can't remember. I don't know why Brad Armstrong would have went over. I don't know.
He does beat up Brad Armstrong, meaning Berlin and the Wall do beat up Brad Armstrong
Afterwards, yeah,
to get heat afterwards. But that was a shocker to me that Brad would get the win there, because he's usually on pay-per-view sparingly, but usually takes the loss. But
yeah,
he obviously puts on a good match, but
yeah,
usually takes the loss.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but I can't remember that. I would have never remembered that match in a million years.
Who made up the Berlin gimmick?
But I mean, that was before I got there, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Do you like that gimmick? Just what it is? And I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
kind of
I'm
cool
fine.
gimmick.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah.
It's like a futuristic German guy that possibly could be plucked from the 30s of Germany,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting gimmick for sure. Mike Tenay is backstage with Ric Flair talking about the Filthy Animals, DDP, the strap match, talking about Kimberly and Tori. So he's got a lot of stuff going on, and obviously two of the most attractive women ever in the history of the business, possibly on the Nature Boys radar, which is pretty interesting.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Nobody's going to argue with that.
So then Rick Steiner is up next, and he's going to defeat Chris Benoit for the WCW Television Championship. The match goes about 13 minutes. It was an okay match. I almost expected a little bit better. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if Rick maybe he was a bit injured. Something was a little askew in the match. Obviously, Benoit is one of the all-time greats. Steiner's awesome too, but it just, I don't know, something was, I would expect it to be match of the night, and it wasn't. So something was, I don't know, maybe a little off. Maybe it could have been the finish because Malenko comes out. And remember, they quit the Revolution earlier. It was a swerve, bro. Malenko turns on Benoit, and Rick Steiner gets the win and captures the TV title. So Malenko turns on Benoit.
Got you. Okay. Yeah.
What's the thought process here? Do you like Benoit as a babyface rather than a heel with the Revolution? Is he above the Revolution? Should he be getting a bigger push?
God, man, it's so hard to remember from 25 years ago, bro. Especially the very, very first pay-per-view there. John, I can't remember what was behind it. I don't want to sit here and make something up. I honestly can't remember.
Just looking at future bookings, it seemed like the Revolution was here. The TV title is here. Like on this level, Benoit is going to move up to U.S. title, world title.
Yeah.
And, he could feud with those guys, but he's moving up. It
Yeah.
seems like. So it's almost like you want to get the TV title off of him. You want to get him out of the Revolution. He's going to get a push.
Yeah, I think Benoit was probably the guy that was underutilized the most when I got to WCW. I'd say probably Benoit and Brett were probably the two guys that were, in my opinion, being really underutilized.
Crazy thing, and I know people kind of don't mention this enough, and I know I used to talk to Kevin Sullivan about it, and he agreed. But when you lose the Radicals eventually, I mean, I'm jumping ahead here, but when you lose the Radicals eventually, Eddie, Malenko, and Saturn, those are big losses, obviously. But losing Benoit and him jumping ship, that was a crusher. He was like the guy that people, and me as a hardcore WCW fan at times, like, wow, he's finally going to get the push. They're finally elevating these young guys. And then he leaves for WWF. Like, oof, that hurt. Especially Austin was injured. So they had they needed talent. They needed an influx. And man, they got the Radicals. Sucked for WCW.
Yeah. That was the day that I went home, and that was the next pay-per-view where all those guys left.
Yeah. Yep. Saturn also interfered in this match and kind of teased that he was going to do something, and Malenko and him end up hugging at the end. So it was all a swerve. They're still in the Revolution together, Malenko, Saturn, Shane, and Asia, and obviously they didn't want Benoit in the group anymore. They turned on him, basically. Benoit quit earlier, but they didn't want him in the group either.
Got you.
Do you like that progression there?
Yeah, no, I mean that was the plan, and that was the direction we were going in. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Mike Tenay is backstage with Bret the Hitman Hart, talking about his injury and his match later on with the total package Lex Luger. Very interesting. Do you like calling him just the total package instead of Lex Luger? Because that was like all the rage for some reason for a brief period of time. Not calling him Lex Luger, but just the total package.
That's weird to me. I mean, it's Lex Luger. I mean, you can call him that. That's Bret Hart. It's Bret the Hitman Hart. It's the total package Lex Luger. So just calling him the total package is a little weird to me.
I agree. Did you see DDP, by the way, is working with Lex Luger nowadays?
Yes, I did. I saw that yesterday, and I guess Luger's standing up now, which is great. Yeah, I did see that. Yes.
Man, DDP is like a godsend to these wrestlers, right?
He really is. Yeah. Well, he talks their language, man. He knows what their bodies went through. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I mean, good for him, man. Yeah.
Did great with Hall, Jake the Snake, Scotty Riggs, even Buff, a bunch of guys. He's really Butterbean, who basically couldn't walk, and now he's moving around, talking to maybe fighting again.
Yeah.
So DDP, man, doing good stuff. Next up, the total package. Lex Luger, the aforementioned Lex Luger, actually with Miss Elizabeth, defeats Bret Hart via submission. The match goes almost 8 minutes long. Shockingly, not that great of a match. It felt like a bit of flat finish with just the single leg Boston Crab. I don't know. I don't know what was going on here. Like we were talking about Bret maybe needing a redo here in WCW, but he takes the kind of a flat finished loss as he was injured, but he takes the loss to Luger. What's going on here?
I mean, was he legitimately injured?
It seemed like he did have a bit of an injury, but he was playing it into it more too. There's no way he's 100%. You could tell by the way he's moving around. I know he's the greatest seller of all time, but you could tell the way he's moving around. He's not 100%.
Is he going to miss a little TV after this?
Nope.
Wow. Yeah.
He's going to go into eventually this tournament for the vacant title as an underdog. Obviously, well, spoiler alert, he ends up winning the whole thing. But you really are playing it up like, man, he just lost to Luger. Now he's entering the tournament injured. There's no way he's going to win the world title.
That's probably why we put Luger over, because we knew he was going to win the tournament. That's probably why.
Do you like the flat finish though? He came off. I don't know. It just came off like, wow, that was it. That was it. Single crab, and he's
Yeah,
hurt.
that's up to the talent, man. The talent's working out that finish, and I'm surprised because Brett's in the match. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So Brett is, leading Luger through this. So it does surprise me, but they would have come up with that finish, not me.
So it seems like here you're almost doing like the ultimate underdog thing with him. Like, wow,
Yeah,
he just lost. Wow, now he's hurt. Wow, why is he even entering the tournament? Man, oh, he's got to
yeah,
have Goldberg in the first round. Like, oh
yep,
man, he's got no chance.
yep, absolutely, yep,
So Goldberg is backstage with Mike Tenay. Then Medusa comes out in a bikini looking very good. She then dumps the nitro cologne on Bobby the Brain Heenan. What was up with this? Was first of all, was this a little bit of a rib on Heenan or what's going on? What is first of all, she comes out in the bikini, kind of makes fun of it, saying like she shouldn't even be out in a bikini. She's tough Medusa, she's a wrestler. And then she said, "Oh, and I have to say stuff like this. I'm sure you like this, Heenan. I got to promote the nitro cologne," and then she dumps it on him.
yeah. She hated that stuff, bro. Like which I don't understand. Bro. If I am a female or a male and I work that hard on my body, then to me, the whole idea is for people to see my body. Like, I never understood that. Why are you going to spend all these hours in a gym? Why are you going to have washboard abs? Why are you going to have 1% body fat? And then you're going to want to go out there, wrestle, and cover all that up. Like, I never understood that. So Medusa had a, ridiculous body. She was an unbelievable athlete, but she was also very, very, very old school and did really not like doing any of that stuff. So I'm sure that's where that came from.
Was it a rib on Heenan, or was he expecting to be dumped, the cologne dumped
Yeah,
on his head?
that I don't remember. That I don't remember.
And was this also a rib? Shivani says that you stink like a skunk, like making fun of the nitro cologne, the smell of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you realize that that will not sell the cologne though? If he says it stinks
I
like a
mean,
skunk,
I realize that. I don't know if Tony does, but I certainly realize that.
just a funny line.
Yeah,
Shivani, he's
yeah,
hilarious. He just always good with one line. He's like, "Man, you stink like a skunk." Like
yeah,
Heenan's like, "Whoa, I can't believe she did that," or whatever.
yeah.
Funny little comedy spot, but it kind of shows Medusa's making a bit of a turn.
Unless it sounds to me like the rib was that the nitro cologne really didn't smell good. That's what it
Yes,
sounds to me like the rib is. So that's why
yes,
she's gonna douse him in it, and then
yes,
Tony's
yes,
gonna make that comment.
yes.
So that had to be the talk of the locker room that the nitro cologne did not smell good.
All right. Now here is where it gets a little wonky for me. Do not like this then. Did not like this now because I pay for this pay-per-view, and Hogan and Sting are the two top guys. So there's a video package highlighting the Hogan Sting WCW World Heavyweight Championship match. Sting is going to be defending his title in a rematch against Hogan. Sting just turned heel, obviously in the Bischoff era the month before. Turned heel, said it was all a ruse this whole time. He just wanted to get the title back. He's boys with Luger again, who's also a heel. They turned on Hogan, who was a babyface. Hogan didn't see it coming. Sting's a new champ. So here we go. There's the video package highlighting all that stuff. But here's the problem. Sting versus Hogan. Hogan comes down dressed up as, Terry Bollea, if you will. He's just wearing regular kind of street clothes, if you will. Street clothes if you're Hulk Hogan. If you're a normal person, it's not street clothes. But if street clothes if you're Hulk Hogan. Sting then ends up beating Hogan in 3 seconds. Sting looks like he's confused. Hogan says, "I'm just going to lay down. Just pin me." That's what he does. 3 seconds, boom. Okay. What the hell is going on here, bro? What the hell? Why is
Yeah,
Hogan laying down for Sting?
because John, it's a reset, bro. All of this is a reset. I told you, man, the card was already booked. So and the card was already advertised. So I'm gonna stay true to the card, but it's a reset. And part of that, and I can totally understand, you looking at this bait and switch. I paid to
Yep.
see this
Yep.
match, but to me, it was a big picture. It was not just this match. It was big picture. And bro, the big picture was that there were a lot of people that were unhappy with the change in management. And one by one, those people were going to be eliminated. That was the story. This was Hulk's elimination. Flair going out to the desert was Flair's elimination. We had a thing with Perfect where if you lost a match, you're out of WCW.
Yeah.
That was Perfect's elimination. There was a falling out with Piper. That was Piper's elimination. Savage came out at one time and cut a promo on Russo. That was Savage's elimination. The big picture was you had the biggest stars in the history of the company leaving, and they were going to come back united. They were going to come back almost like the Avengers together. Hogan and Flair and Piper and Hennig, and they were all going to come back together. And the beautiful dynamic of that was going to be they had to come back together in order to save their jobs. But these were guys that never got along in the business. So how are they possibly going to come together now, but also get along at the same time? That was the big picture story that was being built. And to me, the big picture just superseded this match at this time that was going to get thrown away and really didn't mean anything anyway. To me, the more important thing was the bigger picture.
So how about you just go and do that anyway, right? You do that, but how come not have the advertised match? Like, why not just have the advertised match of Hogan versus Sting and then go through with that?
Because part of Hogan's storyline was he was trying to stick it up the ass of the new guy in charge, the new boss. That was part of the storyline. That's why.
Was there any heat with you and Hogan at this point? Like, no. As far as that, because it seemed like in later interviews he was like, "Oh, I think Russo was trying to get rid of me, brother."
Yeah,
like
no,
he was kind of saying that.
Hogan says, and bro, listen, John, he's your boy, and
Yep.
you know, 99.9% of the time, I have nothing but positive things to say about Hulk, bro. I got my new book coming out, Total Nonstop Action. And it starts when Hogan and Bischoff took over WCW. Bro, I crucify freaking Eric Bischoff. I mean, Eric's going to throw a hissy fit when this book comes out. I don't bury Hulk at all. At all. At all. I don't. But here I'm going to bury him a little. Because I've heard him say, "Oh, you know, people were telling me that they heard Russo say that he was going to get rid of all the veterans and push the younger guys." Bullshit, John. Russo never said that. That was never Russo's plan. And, you know, wherever Hulk got that from, that was Hulk's paranoia. That was never the plan. The plan was to bring these guys back stronger than ever in a prominent role on the show, but it never got to that because Flair and Hogan honestly believed and convinced themselves that I was trying to get rid of them. When I told both of them multiple times what the long-term plan was, and I was setting this thing up.
Devil's advocate, though, right? If you look at it, you could say, like, not really booking these guys too strong. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting rid of Savage, you're getting rid of Piper, you're getting rid of Hogan, you're getting rid of, like, devil's advocate, right? Can you see the other side? Be like, man, I don't know what Russo's doing with these older guys.
I can't really see the other side, bro, from their point of view because they were being so poorly booked at the time. So I can't, you know, if they were in strong storylines and all of a sudden, but the whole point was none of these guys were being booked well. None of these guys were in anything important. And that's what I was trying to create. And these guys knew. Bro, I remember 2 weeks prior to this, the main event was Hogan and Flair, and they looked horrible. They shouldn't have been in the main event wrestling. It was that time had passed by. So they were just putting them in the main event, trying to pop a number. They weren't doing anything with those top guys, bro. And those top guys knew it. So what I was trying to do was a reset as quickly as possible to get these guys repositioned. That was the goal.
What's interesting, in February, basically of '99, Hogan and Flair did like a 400,000 buy rate when he wrestled each other. Then if you look at February of 2000, they kind of tried to redo it, and it was like 100 something thousand buy rate. But it was weird the way it changed in momentum for Hogan and Flair,
Yeah,
maybe overdoing that match too much.
yeah, and not only that, John, but at that age, a year is a long time. So, from 1 year to the next year, at that age, bro, your body is aging rapidly, bro. It's not like you're going from 29 to 30. As you're getting up there, man, you're declining at a much more rapid pace.
So with this, Sting in my mind, and obviously in a lot of fans' minds, like, what the hell's going on with Hogan? Okay, I guess he's gone. What's going on? Sting is the champ, but he just won in 3 seconds, and he's confused. So definitely one of those things where you're getting more questions than answers. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I totally get it, John. I mean, I totally understand. But like I said, man, Ed Ferrara and I came in with a plan. We need to tear down the building and rebuild from the foundation up. And that's what we're trying to do.
Goldberg Sid video package. Then we have Goldberg defeating Sid Vicious for the United States Championship. The match goes 7 minutes, 11 seconds. Actually, it's kind of funny. People said Goldberg didn't have good matches, and I know maybe some of the dirt sheet guys or whoever maybe didn't like some of the matches, but this is a good one. I liked it a lot. The finish basically is Goldberg beats the living hell out of him, and he's bloodied mess, and they have to kind of stop the match. He can't continue, so he looks good in the loss, and Goldberg looks like a maniacal, still babyface, but he looks like a maniacal like monster that I'll beat this guy till he's bloody. I don't care.
Yeah.
So he's the new U.S. champion. Sid maybe face turn a little bit.
Yeah, that was the most important thing for me on this show. Sid was such a valuable player. We had to get Goldberg over, but I wanted to make sure Sid was 1,000% protected. That was the two most important things to me on this pay-per-view were probably the reset. We're starting with Hogan and Flair and these guys, and really protecting Sid in that main event.
Then we have a video from Nitro, which is great, by the way. Kimberly is in the hotel room, and obviously it's going to be a swerve on David Flair with Kimberly, but man, she looks amazing. If you remember that, I think a lot of people will have that kind of etched in their memory. But she's got the lingerie. She's waiting for David Flair. She looks and she's like, "What the hell is this? Viagra? What is this?" Whatever. Like obviously joking, and then all of a sudden pops out of the bathroom. It's the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and obviously that's going to start a big problem with him and DDP because obviously DDP had a problem with David. And they're trying to work. Kimberly and DDP are trying to work David.
That's amazing. Me writing that scene for Ric Flair while I'm trying to get rid of him. That's really amazing, bro, isn't it? I remember that. That was great. I remember that.
Do you think that was hilarious though? Because he pops out of the bathroom. I thought he was excellent. Great. He jumps in the bed, like, "Whoa, let's get going, Kimberly."
Exactly. Yeah, I remember that. That I remember. Yes.
He kind of looks like he's like this playboy. He's going to get this gorgeous 10 out of 10 knockout girl. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
But obviously she's not happy. She's with DDP. They were trying to set up David, and little did they know Flair is one step ahead of them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So then Sting comes back out in ring promo. He's not happy. He is pissed off about what happened earlier. Said he does not want the night off. He challenges anybody. He doesn't say for the title. He says, "I challenge anybody to a fight." Is that a key? Is that something that you make sure you mentioned to him? He doesn't want to take the night off, and he wants a fight, but he doesn't necessarily say for the title, which is going to be key for later on.
See, John, now I don't remember any of this, so now I'm trying to make up for the bait and switch. Now it's going to be difficult because it's not Hogan Sting. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but we're going to give you something. So, like I had totally forgotten about this part, but that's why we're doing this. I'm trying to give you something while I'm trying to reset the story.
Basically, he's setting up for the main event, the real main event later on.
Okay, yeah. So what happens?
You have to wait. He leaves, and then he
Okay.
said he said he'll be back. So
Okay. Okay.
he's just laying out the challenge. He'll be back.
Okay. So Goldberg and Sid was not the main event.
No, no, no,
Wow.
no,
Okay. I
no.
can't. Okay, bro. Please fill me in, man.
Next up, DDP Diamond Dallas
What a
Page.
bro! Look at this card compared to now the WWE has 5 matches. Like
Yeah, you
that's
got 10. Yeah,
this
10
is
matches.
ridiculous. I mean, you keep hitting me with these matches. Like what happened to those days when there were 8 to 10 matches, man?
I do have a affinity for like 7 to 8 matches,
Yeah,
9 matches
yeah,
like that. That for me, that's maybe 10 might be too much, but like
yeah.
that's me for pay-per-view. It's got to
I
be a
agree.
little bit more. Yeah.
I agree. All right. So what's next now?
DDP with Kimberly defeats Ric Flair in a strap match in about 13 minutes. So Nate and DDP are settling what happened with the Nitro and David and the
So who goes over
the room
here?
there, the hotel room.
Who?
DDP goes
Okay.
over.
All right.
Thanks to a bit of Kimberly, obviously it's a strap match, so there's going to be some blood going on, and Ric Flair's going to be very bloody. But thanks to Kimberly and everything going on, and David kind of causing a distraction, DDP does get the win in about 13 minutes. He does have a very bloody David Flair. He does beat up, bloody Ric Flair does beat up David Flair, thus setting up Ric Flair being carted off in an ambulance, which is going to be very key here because this is where the heat starts, I think, with you guys. So he loses to DDP thanks to obviously some chicanery with Kimberly and DDP. David kind of was a bit of a distraction as well. He's bloody. He needs to go to the ambulance. He's being carted off. The only problem here is the filthy animals attack him at the ambulance. So Conan, remember I was talking about before, they were kind of alluding to, oh, maybe he wasn't really hurt. Maybe that was a little bit of a work, but he did look like he was hurt when they were beating him up. So I do think you were right earlier that he was really hurt, and they were kind of pretending he wasn't, but he was hurt.
And that's why they cut the match short.
I believe so. Yeah. So a little bit of a mention or a little bit of a callback there. So then the filthy animals take him off in the ambulance, teasing something for Nitro. Do you like that they're beating up Flair, taking him off in the ambulance, and then he had the loss? Like you said, they have a bit of a reset, so you got to have DDP look strong. Flair did look strong in the loss, but now he's getting beat up and taken away by the filthy animals in the sneak attack. And after Eddie Guerrero stole his $10,000 Rolex.
Yeah, no, it's the reset, John. I know what I'm doing, and they wouldn't have had the problems that they had if they would have let us continue with our story. Obviously, when you're resetting, and then all of a sudden 3 months in, you're going to make a change, then everything you've done for those 3 months is totally out the window and totally meant nothing. If they would have let us continue on with these stories as planned, we would have gotten right back in the game.
Do you see the symbolism, though? You're burying him in the desert on Nitro. You're burying Ric Flair. You're burying his career. Do you see the symbolism, or is that
No,
not
bro.
supposed to be symbolism?
The symbolism is gangsters and Vegas, and there are bodies buried in the desert. That's the symbolism. That's why he's getting buried in the desert, bro, because the Vegas deserts are known for that. You guys could watch Goodfellas and Casino, and they used to bury guys in the desert. That's the tie-in right there.
So you can't see why he would think you're trying to bury him.
No,
Though.
bro,
Can you see that?
he was paranoid. He was freaking paranoid. Wrestlers are paranoid. It has nothing to do with him being buried in the desert. It had to do with him thinking that we were trying to write him out so we could put the younger guys over, when I told him a million times that wasn't the case. And if he didn't want to believe me, that's fine with me.
So obviously that's that. Then we have the main event, the real main event, as Sting is back out. This time, who answers the challenge? Bill Goldberg. Goldberg is back out. Goldberg defeats Sting in about 3 minutes. Short little match here. I wish it was longer, but obviously you had the 10 matches and the time constraints here. But Goldberg defeats Sting to win the WCW heavyweight title, or so he thinks. Was it even for the title? Sting said it was a fight. What do you think here? Because Goldberg wins, he thinks he's the champ.
And how do we leave it?
Sting beats up Charles Robinson, the referee, after the loss, and the show ends on that. So Sting beats up Charles Robinson after Goldberg thinks he's the champ. It kind of walks out, and basically Sting's that kind of still a little being a bit of heelish too here with Sting, even though he did get cheered. He beats up Charles Robinson, and basically kind of alludes to the fact like that wasn't even supposed to be for the title. You cheated me and all this other stuff.
So do we follow that up on Nitro?
Yes, J.J. Dillon basically on Nitro will say the WCW title has been vacated.
Yeah.
He's saying that Goldberg didn't really beat him for the title, and Sting attacking a referee puts the title up.
All that's to set up the tournament. All that is so we're doing two things here. Where I'm trying to give you a cliffhanger to come back to Nitro because you don't know if the belt was on the line or not.
Yep.
And obviously we're trying to set up that tournament. So, yeah, I mean, again, John, it's like you look at this show, which was like one of the first shows I was at. I think it probably the first show I was at with WCW. We are clearly in a reset mode. I mean, you could tell by everything we did on this show and with where it's going. I'm trying to get Brett in the proper place. I'm trying to get, Hogan, Flair, all those guys. We are definitely in a reset mode. No question about it.
I don't know if I like it or don't like it. It was one of those things as a fan, it's like, okay, you're setting up, obviously, the Hogan thing. I have more questions than answers. Sting is pissed. That's very interesting. Goldberg, is he the champion? That's interesting. Flair's going to the desert. Don't know if I like that or not, but he's going there. And, like, you got all this other stuff going on. Why not let just Goldberg be the champion for the night? Or is that out of the question? You're setting up the tournament. There's no Goldberg as champion, world champion.
Goldberg does not need the belt. You've killed Bret Hart. If Bret is ever going to mean anything again, we got to get Bret back in the proper position. Goldberg does not need the belt at this point. But John, I do understand what you're saying 1,000%. But let's take AEW for an example, because bro, let's be honest. Where WCW was at that time in comparison to WWE, and where AEW is right now in comparison to WWE. Both companies were getting their asses kicked without a shadow of a doubt. We were getting our asses kicked. AEW was getting their asses kicked. Bro, I would still do the same thing today. If Tony Khan called me tomorrow, I would still do the same exact thing. We need to tear down whatever is happening here, and we need to build the building from the foundation on up. Let's get to work. I'm not going to waste any more time. I would do, John, the same exact thing. I understand how you feel. I understand how the fan would feel. But if they would have left me the F alone, in 6 months, we would have been right back in the game. 6 months. And I say the same thing about AEW. If I were to go there tomorrow and you let me do what I needed to do, in 6 months, you would start putting asses in seats and you would start having more people watch your product on television. But that don't happen overnight, John. It doesn't happen overnight.
So Halloween Havoc 99 is in the books. You're making sense, and I know what you're saying. You're making sense. I may not like it creatively, but you are making sense.
I get that. I get, bro. If you're a fan, you're gonna look at this like, what the frig is going on here? But John, you got to understand. I laid all this out to them up front, and I said, first, we got to tear down what you've done. Right. We've got to build our own foundation. That's going to take this amount of time. So, like, I've got a 2-year deal, John. So, like, I'm taking this time to rebuild and get everything where it needs to go, and this is going to pay off dividends if I'm allowed to do it. So I understand completely. A fan watching this may not understand what the hell's going on, but you will. I mean, you will if we continue to stick to the game plan. It's all going to make sense.
All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. You follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Vince?
Yeah, guys, if you've never been a member of our Patreon, man, go there right now. You get a free week of the brand. It'll cost you absolutely nothing. Patreon.com/Russo TWC.
All right. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, everybody out there for listening. See you right back here next time for the next podcast. Have a good one, folks.